Thank you, ladies, so much for joining me today. I am overly excited about the wonder that we will have here. I love having these first Sunday conversations because it kind of gives us a glimpse into like the real life of poets. And everybody always thinks everything's so flashy and everything just comes together so beautifully. So sometimes we just got to live life, and that's what these moments are. So I love it. Oh, let's not have that loud. There we go. All right. So welcome to all those that will be watching to First Sundays with Black Poet Laureates. Today is May the 5th, and I am joined by two amazing poet laureates, Miss Ashley Cornelius and Miss Dasha Kelly Hamilton. Thank you, sisters, so much for taking time out of your busy schedules because I know y'all are busy. I know I watch, I'm paying attention. I know y'all busy. So thank you so much for joining us today. And give me 1 second. I'm going to copy and paste this into Facebook so that others can just click the link and join us if they would like to. All right. All right, well, let's kick this bad boy off. I always like starting with something off the wall and crazy. What are y'all watching? Like, what are you streaming? What's going on right now in your world of just extracurriculars? So, what are you watching? What are you streaming? What are you listening to? That kind of stuff.
I just finished watching Baby Reindeer on Netflix.
Yeah.
Whoa,
What?
whoa, whoa. It starts off, well, it's funny, it's humorous all the way through, but it starts off as a comedy. It's funny, then it turns quirky, then it turns dark,
hmm
and then it becomes a conversation about humanity and yeah, humanity and boundaries and justice and healing.
Okay.
Yeah, it
I'm
was a
here for
lot.
all of that.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot. So the base storyline is there's a guy who um has himself a stalker. And then as you unfold both of their how that happened and both their whys, all of us are in that series.
hmm
Um, and I would
Okay.
say makes it doesn't make light of shame, but it definitely takes us down this road of really acknowledging and seeing how in small and huge ways how we all grapple with something of that in there and how that makes us do and not do, be and not be. So yeah, it was way more than I would have ever expected, and it was hilarious along the way. You saw it too. I see you nodding, Ash.
Yeah, I watched it, and actually today I restarted it because I liked it so much. So that is like literally what's up in the background, because it was so amazing, and it's based on the creator's real life. So this
Mm.
actually happened to him. So yeah,
Mhm.
just all these layers, and I'm a true crime sort of like creepy murder mystery kind of gal. So I was so happy you said that. I was like, yes.
And it's called Baby Reindeer
hmm
on Netflix.
Yeah,
It hasn't even come across like you would like this for me. I wonder why. Hmm.
Hmm.
that's good.
Okay, I'm search it out. And me and my husband are always looking for new stuff to stream because we work from home, and so
Mm.
like the TV's like always on in the background. So having some good stuff to kind of watch and work is good. Okay, okay, Baby Reindeer. And what are you listening to? Is anybody in on the Kendrick Lamar and all of that? The beef,
Yes.
rap beef.
Yeah, I'm in and out of it. I know Kendrick dropped and dropped and dropped, and that has been wild. And it's, yes, a fascinating journey. And also J. Cole just being like, I'm done, I'm out, I'm maxing relaxing, I'm out of here. I'm done playing this game. Yeah, I don't think we've really had a big like hip hop beef like this sort of continuous thing. So it's been just nice to be able to witness that and what that looks like. And I love a little gossip. I love a little drama. So this feels so good for me.
The spice of life.
Yes.
Drama is the spice of life. Cool, cool. Well, I didn't know about it. I think it just kind of came across on somebody's feed and they were like breaking down everything Kendrick was doing. And I was like, I don't think I have time for this. There's commission poems to be written. I don't have time to to figure out what's going on with Kendrick. But I always said like if poetry became on that level, like, which to me it should be. I think that it's life changing. I think that when people actually experience great poetry and great spoken word, it becomes life changing. So I think that it should be on that level. But would there be like poetry beef, like we say rap beef? Like, would there be poetry beef between like poets, coming at each other and all that? And then, like, how do you feel about even if you've experienced that in this world of poetry? Have you experienced this poetry beef or back and forth between poets?
That's interesting. I'm trying to think if I've heard of any of the work that's produced, any poem beefs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've certainly seen plenty of, I don't want to, I'm not going to go because they're there, or a lot of alliance building will play it out that way. But art poets are sensitive human beings, aka artists, so that's to be expected. I remember back when I ran a venue, my husband at the time was like, I just can't. I mean, how y'all got beef? Y'all are poets. I mean, we're whole human beings with egos and feelings. So I get it, but I wonder though, because then you let that bleed into your work, and it's a different culture, so we don't,
Right.
they're rap battles is part of the culture.
Hmm.
You start writing poems about each other, your exes. So that's this whole different it's a whole different measure.
Yeah, I've never written a poem to like, get at another poet. To me, that's just passive aggressive. I would just go to that poet and be like, hey, what's going on?
Mhm.
But, I wonder if given the capacity, would that type of culture kind of take over?
Mhm. I've written a lot of stuff about my exes, like those are the ops, but never like another poet. But what I've done in the past is when I've worked with like young people doing workshops, I often use like rap and hip hop of like sometimes kids are like, I don't like poetry, that's not for me, that's like not representative. And I'm like, rap is just poetry. It's all literary devices, it's like really cool similes and
Hmm.
hyperbole. And so like if you like rap, then by definition you like poetry. So I've done workshops where it's like, imagine you are going to write a diss track with poetry. And so I've gotten into that way. I've never had sort of a battle, but it's a cool way because yeah, you're literally like taking people down with like a very beautifully crafted metaphor. And like, is
Hmm.
that just like the most poetic thing of like, we can argue, but really just here's a solid like simile about why you suck. And I think that's to give to the young people.
It's just a solid
And you're welcome.
simile. I love that. Just a solid simile of why you suck. Ah, that's awesome. Cool beans. Cool beans. Okay, so now Ashley, um, you have just been accepted into tell us a little bit about this because I want to understand and then, invite people to definitely support. So tell
Yeah.
us about your fellowship.
Yeah, so I just got accepted into an artist residency called the Chateau de Aquevoix. I don't know if that's how you say it. Um, but it is an artist residency in the Champagne region of France. It's one of the top 10 most beautiful residencies. There's like a 2% acceptance rate, so I'm very grateful. And it's artists from all over the world that are come together to live basically in the French countryside for 3 weeks. So I will go next year March 12th through April 2nd. And as a part of it, I just donate a piece of art to the residency because I got a small grant to sort of support part of the tuition. So as a result, that's sort of the shift. And yeah, I get to live in this castle in the countryside and create and write and really just be inspired. It's pretty self-guided, so all of the artists can give offerings or just like create and enjoy. I've never been to France. It has always been on my list. And very specifically for Black artists, philosophers who have traveled to France. And yeah, I am very excited about what that'll be. And my goal is to write a poem in French. It may be a haiku because I don't speak French, but I am going to try and like figure some stuff out. But yeah, try and I think when you can write poetry in another language, that's a different level of fluency and beauty. So yeah, I'm really excited for this opportunity.
Outstanding.
That's
Congratulations.
yeah, that is absolutely awesome. And welcome. It says Dark Man Blue, so you don't have to tell me your name because oh, Samuel Rain, he just changed it. Welcome, Samuel. Thank you for joining us for First Sundays with Black Poet Laureates.
Good evening and good afternoon, depending on what part of the country you're from. I'm in California, so
Oh, this afternoon for you.
yeah, I had
Okay.
almost about to take an old man nap again. I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing something, and just realized, oh, you're late. Okay, but I'm here now.
You
Thank you.
are not late. You are right on time, sir. Will you please tell us, you are the poet laureate of
Kern County, California.
Current County?
No, Kern.
Kern, Kern
Yeah.
County, California. Well, welcome. I'm so glad to have the opportunity to meet you for our first Sunday.
Yes.
All right. So we just kind of just been chatting and hearing about this wonderful trip to France that Ashley is getting ready for in this residency, which kind of leads me into another question just about residencies and submissions. How often are you as poet laureates submitting work to be published or for residencies, or is it just, are you at a point now where you're just like, okay, I've done all of that, and now I just let people contact me because I'm that dope? Like, you know,
How
where are
about
you
that?
in that journey? And just tell us a little bit about it.
Is it me?
Sure,
That's the
you can
question.
start. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've only submitted one book to publish with a national publisher. And what they said to me was, "We love your work, but it's not what we're looking for right now."
Mm,
So I said, "Okay." That was book 19 that I had written. And so I published a book without them because they said they wasn't ready for me. I'm like, "Well, I'm ready for this book."
mm.
So I published it myself under my own company, which is called Innate Divinity Books.
All
So like
right.
they actually made me start a publishing company.
Ah,
So that's how that came to be about. And after I published that book, I published with another publisher, which was a friend of mine. I had her publish one of my books that same year, and then the next following year, I think it was, I published. I started the Dark Man Blues series, and I published two of those books of that series, and and then I went on from there. And no, I've never tried to write and then give my poetry to someone to say, oh, I want to be in this or whatever. Um, I've maybe done maybe one or two anthologies. My mission for myself was to write 50 books, publish them all in my
mm.
lifetime. I'm at number 43 right now.
Oh,
I'm
come
about
through. Let's
to,
go.
yeah, so I'm about to put out two more books this year. I just published a book this year that I co-authored with a young man out of Charlotte, North Carolina, which is titled Love Is. So that's my latest. Uh, I did publish a book last year in August, which was called Dark Man Blues, an interview with love.
Mm.
It was nominated for an Image Award, but I didn't win. I didn't even make the top five, but at least I tried to put my book out there.
Oh, yes.
And then this year, as I was I had my name submitted for Port Laureate, and they picked me. So I'm like, well, let's do this. And I just came from Charlotte. I did the Charlotte Poetry Fest this year. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
So, and then now that I'm Port Laureate of Kern County, they're going to have their first poetry festival because they've never had one. Even though the previous Port Laureates had an opportunity, they didn't do it. I'm about to
Yeah.
make it happen. I'm already in
Okay.
the process of making it happen. So,
I love that.
uh, and once I'm going to meet all the Port Laureates in California eventually. And that's one of my missions. And even invite now. I did get a chance to. I didn't meet him personally, but the Port Laureate of California. I reached out to him and he replied. So he Googled me to see what I was about. He want to see what this dude's about. And then he replied to me and he says, "I love 1619." And I'm like, "Oh, that was the old title of the poem before I put it in the Dark Man Blues book." And
Ah, okay.
and then it was called 1619, and I changed the name to Depth of a Continent.
Nice.
And
Okay.
I put it in a book that came out. It's Dark Man Blues, John Bowl. And so I put that book out. That book's already been out. That was the third book of the series of Dark Man Blues. I've written 8 books for that series. So I
Wow.
have 4
Okay.
more to put out that eventually it starts back up again in 2026. So I'm going to start back up. I've already written the 4 books, and it's just me going over them again, doing any editing that I may want to do, or that kind of thing like that. Because I am an editor, but I don't edit my own work. I have someone else do it, because
Yeah.
I'm still going to miss something because I wrote it, so I'm gonna miss it, and it
Yeah,
could be some
absolutely.
error in there or something like that. But I'm
Okay.
having fun being as just it's just been a month. Today is a month of me being Port Laureate of Kern County. So it has sunk in, but and then I was in Los Angeles last night hosting for a friend, and half the audience knew I was a Port Laureate, so they were congratulating me because they follow me on social media and stuff like
Yeah.
that. These people I hadn't seen in a while because I go to LA, but not to do poetry. I just go to LA to visit my kids because they're in college.
Gotcha.
So, and if I should happen to be there on a poetry night, then yeah, I'll go somewhere. But other than that, but I think it's going to be. I'm going to make it fun, for myself.
Good, good. You're gonna make it great, I'm sure. What
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
you, Miss Dasha, Miss Ashley?
I pretty frequently now like submitting for residencies. So
Mhm.
I am a full-time artist now. Like that's how I make all of my money. And I transitioned last year. Yes.
Yes, girl. Come
What
on.
a good job. I was in healthcare for the past 7 years, in a hospital system, and yeah, quit in Halloween and pursuing art full time. So I feel like I'm in a renaissance. And so I'm like trying to do residencies, I'm trying to get grants, I'm just trying to like
Right.
really sustain. So this is definitely a period of submitting a lot, but I'm trying to be more intentional about what I
Right.
submit because I think when you submit a lot, you get a lot. And that abundance is beautiful. And I want to make sure that I don't spend too much time doing that. I also just want to like create for myself, which sometimes can get lost as a full-time artist of like
Yes.
I'm producing and commissions and stuff. So yeah, keeping that balance, but definitely I want to travel the world and do poetry, and residencies have sort of been that vehicle for me to be able to do that.
I love it. I love it.
Ah, I haven't done a lot of submitting myself for some of the many of the things that Sammy talked about, how you take the time and you to be told no, or we don't have space, we're not quite what we're looking for. So from early on, it was doing chapbooks and self-publishing, and I even come through from the press a CD era. So
I got some myself,
got to
sister.
collect it yourself. And I would say in this season, it's really revisiting that as an option.
Mhm.
Some of it would be everything is energy, right? So some of those submissions will be submit with a different energy of confidence, a different understanding of knowing what this piece is. And I also didn't have the time. So I learned enough I know enough to know that that's a that's a hobby and almost a part-time job in and of itself, in doing
Yeah.
the submissions, keeping track of what you sent to whom, and backtracking on what comes from there. So I also didn't have the capacity to track all of those things. So I haven't done a lot of submitting, and I'm just grateful that the commissions and the anthologies and things, they find me. And now I'm on the wing of setting out to draw to me and expanding that network of what do I want to find and what new things I want to find too.
Yeah, awesome. I think probably because I came from a world of slam, I never really did a lot of submitting. Um, but I have submitted to a couple of, like zines and things like that, and been chosen to be published. But I I don't have time. I'm a mathematician. I'm running numbers like 40 to 50 hours a day. And, and it's what I love to do. So I love numbers and I love poetry. So I write. I just finished the book, Dasha, that you and I talked about. It's here. Like the author's copy came. I was gonna send you a picture of it, but yeah, it's the first visual poem. So I'm just gonna open it up to a page so you can
There
see
we go.
some of the art that ended up in this bad boy.
Hmm.
So yeah, so
I'm gonna
Dasha
have
and
to tell
I,
my friend because we want to do a book like that, but you didn't already beat us to it, so I'll be calling you.
I love it because kind of like you, Samuel, I realized that a lot of spoken word artists weren't getting picked up um, by presses, right? And so um, I just started publishing on my own, and so that's why we were able to publish the first anthology of Black Poet Laureates. That's why, some other the youth poets that come through my city, I published their first books for them, and
I'm
have been
planning
able.
on doing all that in Kern County where I live, because they haven't done anything, and I'm excited about it. I was only going to do high schools, and then the art council here says, well, "What about middle schools? Oh, you want me to do those too?"
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm going to do both. But as far as I don't consider myself a spoken word artist. I'm a poet. I
Hmm.
write poetry. I can entertain you with it, but I'm not necessarily like I have friends who are spoken word artists, like Georgia Meade, Talam Macy. They're
Yeah.
spoken word artists.
Yeah.
I am not a spoken word artist, but I can definitely incite you with what I do because I enjoy what I'm doing. I believe in it. So, and I don't write in any. I studied all the forms, hated them. I'm not writing that. No, I'm not doing it. No, I'm just. I barely write a haiku. I'm not gonna write a sonnet or any of those other things. That's to me. I told them in one workshop I went to. I said that's old poetry. I mean, I actually said it's dead poetry. I'm not writing that. So
Mm.
as writers, we're individuals with our own styles, and sure they have a lot of different things that you could. I don't want to be told that I have to have 8 syllables or 10 syllables in a line, or I have to have. I got a rhyme at the end of this line and that line. I'm like, no, just want to write, and then share something that's real, and for people to understand it and get a. They say, oh, I love that. Yeah.
I love that. And I know that all three of you do it. So it is time for some poetry. So who wants to share first? Who wants to share a poem with us first?
Hmm.
I
Is
will
there
go.
silence from poets? Wait a minute. We're not
No, I
supposed to be
got you. I
quiet.
got you.
I was like, that's
But I
like,
went and
I
pulled out
got
the
you.
ones that don't always make the reading or the show or so especially the company of word lovers. You should appreciate this one. Liminal. Waking, dreaming, tasting, sated. Dawn, day, narrowly between approximation and certainty. Following, leading, circling, cycling between I'm sorry and WID. Between relinquish and resentment. Grasp, grasping, adjusting, settled, settling. Wanting, anticipating, figuring, knowing. Between flash and passion. Deciding, deciding, doing. Having a taste, buyer's remorse. Bliss, shame, release, release. Familiarity, comfort, turned and spun, conditional, committed, between active and activated, data and denial, 1 millibreath between implicit and exercise, between sundown and end of day, liminal.
Lovely. That was beautiful weaving of words. I see why you said that. I love that. All right, Miss Ashley.
Yeah. I'm gonna read this piece called Trinity. I worked with our local production of The Bluest Eye, the play by Toni Morrison, and organized poets to provide a poem at the end of the play for their own sort of um, inspiration of this work. So this was my piece called Trinity. Blonde hair, blue eyes, white skin. Blonde hair, blue eyes, white skin. Blonde hair, blue eyes, white skin. Beauty began with lunchroom comments about never dating a Black girl and the superiority of every feature I didn't have. Anger began when I was told to sit in the back of the bus during a field trip and called ebony and ivory when standing next to my friend. Anger began when I was told to, hatred began when white boys in elementary school wouldn't touch me, so my Black wouldn't rub off on them. Ugly began when I was the only Black girl in my class for years and didn't have at least one of the holy three, the sacred trinity. If not all, at least one. Give me one so I can survive, so I can uncloak myself and be seen, just one, so I may exist and have protection on school buses, in lunchrooms, in classrooms. I am only asking for one, to bring me closer to what the world tells me I am lacking. Let me be beautiful. Let me be good. Just one, and maybe I could love the mirror and the image. Maybe my body will heal from the brick-laced comments. Maybe my skin won't tighten and stretch itself thin to be invisible. Just one is all I need. But God never answered, never gave me at least one. I spent young years thinking I wasn't enough to receive, believed a God who looked like them and not like me wouldn't turn to face my siren calls. I know now I was asking for something I didn't need. I was already of divine creation. I was a masterpiece of design. Black girls are twilight moonscapes and tidal wave sunsets. We run hands through hair and find magic on our fingertips. Wide noses and high cheekbones situate our beauty on mountaintop landscapes. Bodies, vessels of dreams come true with our existence. Dear Black girls, never look back to beauty standards too fragile to house Blackness, too narrow to celebrate how melanin velvets our skin, our bodies, our reclamation. Do not let them dispossess us of ourselves. Every time a Black girl falls in love with herself, she saves a life. See clearly with the eyes of the beholder that we are everything we have been looking for. We are marigolds, thriving in hours of sunlight to produce a trinity of our own. Joy, bright as sunbeams crusting from our smiles into warm yellow petals. Confidence, sprawling into purple royalty and straightening our backs and lifting our chins. Grace, to love ourselves in full bloom wrapped in loud expressions of green. We are the soil, the trunk, the fruits, and the bloom. Black girls, we have arrived at ourselves and to a God that looks like us, dripping out of full lips with dialects and twangs. We say, brown hair, brown eyes, brown skin. Brown hair, brown eyes, brown skin, brown hair, brown eyes, brown skin. A trinity of beauty unlike any other. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, yes. Come through. I love that. That repetition at the beginning and at the end, like gave me goose pimples.
Mm,
Like I was just like, oh my gosh, yes, I love that. That was awesome.
thank you.
All right, Mr. Rain.
I'm debating on how I should do this. Should I show a moment of what I do on stage or just share a poem from a book?
It is whatever you are feeling, my brother.
Okay. So this is the magic that I attempt to create as I approach an open mic or feature performance. You, sensual being, at the edge of my pen, another complicated passion scripted right in, flowing through her like mountain rivers, leaving oceans of dreams. Like rain, I am the cradle to her life. I want to be the poem she reads, and then breathe the sounds of her. It's been a while since I've tasted beautiful. Arousing earth tones, she be black coffee in my mornings. Her essence flows through me. I tell her she's that preview to my pain. We love hard. Have you ever felt black rain? I could never let her go. She tells me the same when she says, I'm your fiend, dark man. And she's off the chain. Called me the Mackin game. I'm just hungry for her love. I show her. We all flow differently. Some of us flow rhymes and call it therapy. She said my words have waves, so I took out my pen like she asked me. She said, write into me and make it nasty. Now she knows I would read her. It felt good discovering myself, true story, this past forgotten, these ancient memories feeding my soul. I wanted more, and she was giving. Inviting me like home, she shared her emotions, leaving echoes on wall paintings. I spoke her name. She's dark girl magic. It wasn't her appearance I fell into, thinking this what makes me. She was that dare I needed, I had to. And she spoke her mind, and I don't mind the inner beauty moves me. I could taste the hunger. After all, she's temptation. If only she knew, dark girl, I'll be loving you like a blind man would do. Every line curves too while painting my imagination. You see, I close my eyes when I hold you. My wanting embrace, discovering the goddess of my temptation. Let me caress you in anticipation of your desire. Know this, as I trace you to wet, picture this silhouette, matching every part of you, like the wind finger painting my affection, your body becoming my canvas, from thought to perfection, as I love the skin you're in.
Okay, I see you, player.
Thank you,
Come
thank you. So they say you got to know your audience, you know. So my research led me to believe that every woman wants to be in love. Women read, women buy, you know. So
on.
that's
He
why I
said,
write love poems, you know. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Welcome, Mr. McAdoo, to our first Sundays with Black Poet Laureates.
Hey,
I
how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm not going to ask you to read because I know that you are actually going to be one of our features next month, right? Isn't that what we talked about? Isn't that what you said? You said yes the next month.
Uh,
Okay. Unless you want to read for both months, I'll let you read some poems. Don't, I'm never going to say no to poems. You want to read us one poem and get us ready for next month?
that's fine. If that's cool, if that's your pleasure, I would love to do it.
All right. Does that say MC Mactivated? Is that
Right,
what I'm?
right. That's my brand, Mactivated. My name is McAdoo, so I Mactivate people. And
I
so
love it.
a little bit about my journey. I went from I'm a 31-year educator, but I'm also a slam poet. So I've competed, and after doing fairly well and being successful in slam poetry, I was like, man, I'm about to retire from this, getting kudos in these little, how else can I use all these poems I've written? So I said, well, maybe motivational speaking. So I've been doing that since 2014, but COVID made me put it in fast gear.
I love it. I love it. I too have made that switch. So I love that. You are where at?
I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas. So uh, I am the first poet laureate we've ever had. We do have an Arkansas statewide poet laureate, but in terms of our city, I am the first ever.
I love it. I love it. And you know what? I forgot because I already knew, but I didn't let y'all tell everybody else. Dasha, tell us where you are poet laureate or were poet laureate, because I know that you are emerita.
I'm emerita now. I was poet laureate for the city of Milwaukee and concurrently poet laureate for the state of Wisconsin.
Yes. She did that dang thing, did it two, two times over. Love it. All right. And Ashley, are you emerita or are you still in office?
I am still in office. Yeah, I'll be done in December, and I'm the poet laureate of the Pikes Peak region. So Colorado Springs, like El Paso and Teller County, and I'm the first Black poet laureate and the youngest poet laureate in Colorado Springs.
Awesome. I will be in Colorado Springs in November.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we'll have to try and get together. Hopefully you'll be there and not on the road. Awesome, awesome. Okay. So yes, Mr. McAdoo, go ahead and share a poem with us before we get back into our conversation.
All right, so this poem is fairly new. I wrote it unfortunately after the passing of my son this year. It's called No Rail. No rail, so many things that name captures. Norel. Laron, my name spelled backwards. A name I've said and saved since Pine Bluff High School. His first steps were in Pine Bluff. His last steps were in Pine Bluff 2. He went for pedicures with his grand, got whooped in dominoes by his nana, shook my father's hand with, hey, granddaddy, in a snap, stood on his mother's back to make it crack. Was best friends and confidant with his little sis, my Jim. He was sunshine to me. I was pops to him. And I thought that one day we would know all suns must set, but the warmth of my baby boy's essence is a blessing I'll never forget. It was an honor watching my seed grow, seeing him bloom, pushed me to be greater. Norel, the definition of what happens when the creation inspires the creator. I gave him all since the day I had him. He gave me more than I ever imagined. No better gift. For me, it was like no one really ever lived. As a toddler, he loved the word doo-doo. So we gave him more options indeed, like BM, dung, poop. He turned around and told someone his name was Feces. A 4-year-old Pee Wee League baseball player turned as we cheered and said, I'm concentrating. Career also ended it for because he was allergic to everything baseball related. Dirt, trees, pollen, grass, dust. All of them had him wheezing and whining, but I know that he could hit and shine bright even without a baseball diamond. When he wanted to quit the middle school basketball team, I gave him a say. I told him, son, you can quit the team, but you can't quit practice. So he decided to stay. Helped start a saxophone group in middle school, and Saxy was their name. Helped start self-paid in high school, went from selling candy and t-shirts to the rap game. He became a poet at the same time when he found out about the many offers that his sister was getting for simply turning similes and metaphors into dollars. But when it comes to music, he was one of Arkansas's rawest. He put Pro Tools in a tool shed and told the whole state, step into my office. He was never not working. The world saw my sunshine, but I got to witness my son's grind. My favorite son, only son, firstborn young, movie with a 24-year runtime. He is supposed to be writing a memorial piece about me to a father from a clever kid, but I'm proud to do it because to me, no one really ever lived You are my greatest dream come true, a father having a son. My biggest fear come true, a parent burying his young. One of my sayings is dig deep every heartbeat, because you don't know how many you have, how many years, how many months, how many days, how many will pass before you pass, how many hours, minutes, seconds of breath of heartbeats do you have left? Whether it's life or playing drums at church, he lived each beat to the fullest like no one else. No one really ever lived. He strived for his best self. No one really ever lived. His gift was maximized and expressed. No one really ever lived. That's what NOREL stands for, the way it's defined. So take no rail with you, with your heart, in your soul, in your mind, because you could do it and say it and believe it with your grind, with your lifetime, in your presence. No one ever, no one really ever lived. Norel, my son. Peace.
Wow, what a tribute. What a tribute. That was beautiful. No one really ever lived. No real. I love that. Love it. Man, okay, so it's Ashley, do you have children?
No.
Okay, we have a lot of parents on here. Um, and but I know you do work with youth. So, LaRon, you kind of, bring us into this space of just, I guess, our fears for young people right now. And I kind of want to talk about that just a little bit. I have two little ones. My boys are 13 and 11. And then I know Dasha, she got empty nest. Her babies is grown now. And Samuel, your babies are grown too, right?
Well, I have one that's in her second year of college. My son's finished school, but now he's going to film school. But my biggest threat for with that I feared for him was he would want to go out, and I'm like, dude, you're 6'2", you got dreadlocks. No, I'll
Mm,
pick you up, take you wherever you need to go, that kind of thing like that, because it was too much happening. I'm like, I don't ever want to see you walking the streets. So uh, he lives in Los Angeles. I don't. So and that was one of the things when he got grown, he says, "Oh, I want to move to back to California." I'm like, without me, but he did. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to let him go because he's grown now. So he went back to Cali, and every day I would worry. And I still have that worry as a parent. We're gonna, especially for my daughter. She's on campus. She lives on campus, so when I go to LA, I always visit my children. Because
yeah.
even though I talk to them, it's like seeing them in person is a whole different thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I am I taught school for 16 years before I left the classroom to teach teachers to do what I do so that our state would have good math teachers because good math teachers hard to come by, y'all. Um so so now that's what I do. I teach math teachers how to teach math. Um but teaching high school and middle school, uh, I did have to go to several funerals. And so that reality is it's right here, and how do we as poets combat the world that our young people are having to grow up into? Like, how do you use your art to um, educate, combat that world, and also exercise those fears that we do have.
I
I would
think
say,
you go ahead, Dasha.
was gonna say though, I've spent also a lot of time as a teaching artist and also working with young people. So that teaching artist going into classrooms and became going into multiple classrooms, went into going to this whole school, went into having 16 high schools that we put together a cross city intramural poetry slam league. And so
Mm.
with that coming through, it becomes a tradition. There's a trophy that goes from school to school. Now the teachers are engaged, and I love the young person who comes because they bestie had this poetry thing to go to, and now a year later they're doing poems. They're the captain, right? And along the way, those young people stay in our phone. They stay connected to us, and it was very organic. And teaching them how to hold space, teaching them how to do workshops, and go back and be mentors to their alma maters. And along the way, so I now have this connection with these young people from 14 to 24, right? And in the middle, I had this moment of what? I've seen you digest and dissect every ism. And you remember when you addressed your mom about your sexuality? And remember that time we went to the workshop and the police came? What do you mean you're afraid to make a phone call?
Mm.
What do you mean you don't know where the stamp goes? And I found along the way that for the very beginning, my work was not even so much teaching poems and recruiting poets, although that's outwardly exactly what happened. But along the way, it was here's this blank piece of paper, and you've got a whole universe of thoughts. You have to figure out which thoughts matter and then how you're going to present them. You have this platform, and with young people, okay, yeah, you got to break off an F-bomb in the library, but now what? Now what are you going to do with this attention? So along the way, in giving them to the process of going from a blank piece of paper to a poem, there are a lot of questions that get answered, a lot of decisions that get made, and there's so much confidence that gets instilled with what you know you're able to do. And also, people they also grow up then knowing that people will listen to them, that they have something to say. So I would say along the way, so now I'm in this window of these young people being in their mid to late 20s, 30s, and in a former life to work at the Y, and those young people in their 40s, right? And they and I'm so grateful to have because I was a teacher where you don't always get to know how that little kid back by the in the back of the classroom, how are they doing today? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm really fortunate that in a lot of cases I get to see how they're doing and know that the process of parsing through their thoughts and having the breath to say the thing, hear other perspectives, has them walk through the world with a confidence and a purpose. Yes, from writing poems, but not all about writing poems. So I
Yeah.
feel that our presence, the work that we put out, does that work.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to be in partnership or even just be visible to the young people that are in our even adjacent to our world makes an impact. Now something more direct in saving the world and saving young people and boots on the ground working towards particular issues that 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 spikes and it peaks. But I say across the board, giving people, young people especially, the permission to question and scribble and
Mm.
literally stand on a stage or stand on a platform about what they think and feel, prepares them for everything that's next.
I like that. Love it.
I was gonna comment. So a lot of actually most of the work that I do is with young people. And I'm a therapist and I do poetry therapy intervention. So that's sort of how I understand like healing and support. And so
Mm.
worked in inpatient adolescent psych doing poetry therapy with young folks. And there is like something so powerful about giving folks the tools to like express themselves. And I would say this often with like clients I would work with is that we only listen to or take seriously suicide notes that are written in the right language. And
Mm.
that is like, I need help. Please help me. I don't feel good. I don't want to be here. I want to die. Like, I'm sad. And we're like, oh my gosh, I'll totally help you. But then there's some people who are like, F you, screw this, I hate the world, F the police, like all the stuff, all of that is also still asking for help. And so for poetry, for me in therapy is like, I have to learn people's dialect of asking
Mm.
for help or needing it. And poetry is one way that like helps people sort of be a vehicle to name what they need, and just find other ways to share what's going on. So we have like idioms of distress. So when we say like, I have butterflies in my stomach, we all know that means I'm sort of anxious. But that's like nothing, right? That's like a metaphor that's something made up. And so, like, how do we provide folks to be able to talk about their distress or their love or their oppression through the language that we already use, which is poetry? When we don't know how to talk about love or depression or racism, like, we
Mm,
use metaphors. So that's this cool vehicle. And I tell folks a lot that like people don't necessarily listen to me because I'm, a Black woman and I'm young and I can be like, hey, this is really racist or this is what's happening. People are like, whatever, girl. And then I go on stage and I read a poem about racism and people are like, whoa, racism exists. Fantastic. And I was like,
yes.
okay, cool. So I realized like when I have the microphone, like that is probably the most powerful that I feel. And I want to be able to
Ooh.
write poetry that people listen to. So a
Mm,
lot of my work with young people is like, if you are performing, like people happen to listen to you. You can't really speak over a microphone. You have the stage, and like this is a way where if you feel disenfranchised in the world on the mic, you can reclaim a lot of that power. You can say some stuff. You can like let people know um, about what you're doing. And I think art's like a bridge to new perspectives. So I might not understand where this young person's coming from, but we can meet in the middle at a metaphor. Like I can
I
understand
love that.
the and so, how do we give these young people like that language, that confidence, and this public speaking spills over to a job interview, spills into how you come out to your mom, it spills into like all of these things. And so, giving people the knowledge of language, but also the fluidity to break all of the rules of language and create their own, I
Mm.
think is definitely how I've sort of navigated that. And also, the world is wild and I've lost a lot of young people in a variety of ways. And the legacy we leave sometimes is a poem that they wrote, is a story that they shared. So how do we prep
Yeah.
them to create in the world these stories? Because as we heard with that beautiful poem, we never know how many hours, seconds, days we have. But
Yeah.
that poem, that message, that story is something we can keep holding on to. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I worked with a poet, and I didn't know she committed suicide, and she came to me. Other people were trying to publish her book, and she came to me one day and said she needed my help. So uh, I I got her two books, and I worked on them, and then I get a phone call a few weeks later and say that she committed suicide. I'm like, what? I just talked to her.
Wow.
And I didn't know
Mm,
her story. I didn't read it in her poetry. She didn't write it in her poetry. What she did was she wrote her manifesto, because when I called her family and I said, I have her books and I want to give them to you. And they said no. She said in her manifesto that she wanted you to publish those books. So my company published her books, and so that's something that I'm always going to remember, that how we read each other. But she didn't share it with me. But other people came to me and said, "Well, I knew she was going through something." I said, "Well, how come you didn't say anything? You know, did she ask you for help or something like that?" In some way, she was asking for help by the way they were telling me, but they didn't help her. And then
mm,
and so I published her books, and that was the first uh, person that I published other than myself under my own banner. So, and now I'm publishing other authors. My mission is to have this company grow, and
hmm
then to be able to pay authors for their projects. Like
hmm
a major publishing company would, but not. It's like I instructed my team. I said, if we can't give them the same royalties that they get on Amazon, then why are we publishing their book? So
That's right.
because people can self-publish, and then they look down at you when you self-publish and say, oh, you're not published by anybody, but you publish yourself, which is a
Hmm
great feat. And then if you're smart about being in the business, there's so many ways to make money off of what you publish, and how to do it. That's, you have to have that plan. But
hmm
both my children are poets. They both write poetry. So that's another reason why I started the company, because I'm like, this could be you guys' legacy in 20 years. You could be running the show, and this could be a big publishing company, and they
Yeah.
won't call you an indie publisher because you'll be big and you'll be out there. And they say, oh, this company's been doing it for X amount of years, 20
Yeah.
years. So if I can continue to do this for 20 years, then when they take over, when they're ready, then it'll continue to grow.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the smaller presses, that's how they got started, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and the I've only had one of my books published by another press, and it was a small press started by a father and son right here in the city that I live in. And but they are considered, you know, a a press that everyone recognizes. And so it was like, oh, well, now she's been pressed, she's been published by Iris Press. And and I was like, oh, that was nice and that was fun, but I can do this on my own and probably make more money than I did publishing with them. So I just, went back to doing my own work and you know, pushing the young people through our publishing company, which is the Fifth Woman. But I don't even do my work under there. I just do mine under Radio Sunshine. So, um, I think that as time goes on and the longer it is, then it becomes an established press, and then you get that level of what do you where people recognize you as, a press that is not just a self-publishing press. I don't know.
Right.
I'm probably saying that the wrong way because I'm losing words, but here we go. All right. So, um, let's see. We got Cali in the house. We got Colorado in the house. Y'all all on the West Coast. These are all my West Coast folks. And Mr. McAdoo is down south with me. Um, holding on strong with Arkansas. Um, so let's hear it. Do y'all have any West Side poets, West Side poems, um, representing your city or your state?
Not really. I mean,
He's like,
so this
oh,
is a poem where you mention your city in? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yeah. Do you have any of those that you would like to share with us?
I have one that's in a Dark Man Blues book.
Okay.
That's coming out. The book's not out yet. But when I first wrote the piece, I think it was titled Third World. And in my college, because I'm pretty old, I'm probably the oldest person on the screen right now. Yeah, I think so.
Dasha said, "Black don't crack. Don't judge her."
Okay. All right. So uh, I wrote this poem, and most of all the Dark Man Blues books are already written. So that means that I wrote them years ago, and they've just been sitting on the shelf. So the poem was called Third World, and then I changed the name of the poem to Voices because I edited it and added new lines to it, and I also mailed this poem to the mayor of Los Angeles, so they got to read it. And then they asked me to volunteer. I'm like, no, ask me to take a job. You want to pay me something, that kind of thing. So the piece starts off. And if you ever been to LA, have any of you been to Los Angeles? You have. And do you know anything about the 110 freeway? It's a freeway that runs through downtown Los Angeles.
Okay.
Okay, so I started my poem off with borrowed words. I love LA, not this LA. The city of freeway mansions graffitied by overpass views. The sun, another day of hell in these streets. The city of homeless, no one gives a damn. Dehumanized, just a drive-by priced out for SoFi in the woods. Hungers on the menu. Night creatures, sidewalk living, can you feed me? Death be the smell they're given. 40 years of show me the money, trying to survive in a city of angels, now devils ruled by demons in blue. Can you hear the voices? One day, it may be you. And that's that poem.
Okay, okay. That poem talking about Los Angeles. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. What about you, Ashley, Dasha? Y'all got poems about your city?
Yeah, I have one short one. What's cool is I just got this fellowship to do a mural project in Colorado Springs where I'm writing a poem about the city and I interviewed a bunch of folks and we're going to have a mural with my poem. So I'm in the process of writing a Colorado Springs poem, but I have this poem about Pikes Peak, which is the main thing in Colorado Springs, and just context for y'all. Um, Pikes Peak is named after this man, Pike, who did not ever climb her at all. Just decided Zebulon Pike was like, that's my mountain, but never summited. But the indigenous name for Pikes Peak is Tava, which means Sun Mountain. So I wrote this Sun Mountain poem to honor her real name. The sun kisses Tava first, leaves lipstick afterglow on her forehead. Gilded peaks make the Rocky Mountains envious, wishing they could shift tectonic plates just to be near the warmth of her kiss. Tava is Sun Mountain. She is the sun's favorite. She loves when you call her by her name, not by the name of a man who never climbed her. She wants you to honor her position in the sky, reminder of the landscape's divinity and indigeneity. Thanks.
I love that. I love that that you brought in that indigenous name. I am married to a historian who is studying just he studies Black history um and things that this man is finding out and telling me just about how like the Black history of the West, because growing up South, we were never told about Black history of the West, right? We weren't taught about the cowboys and we weren't, taught about the different it was very different out west for Black cities and like the millionaires. I can't think of the name of the woman in California, but he told me like she became a millionaire and she would filter her money back into the Black church, but nobody ever knew this Black woman is this millionaire and she's like taking all of the money from the white churches and filtering it back into Black churches. It's like he's telling me all about this and he's telling me how Martin Luther King came out west and was like, let's be passive. And they told him to, get home. Like, you got to go. Like, we ain't about that. We tear some stuff up out here. So like I love that you just brought that in. Anytime I start to hear history in poetry now, it it brings a new smile to my face because I get to hear history all day, every day. That's all he talks about. Um, and I know he's watching probably, so he knows. I love it. I love that he's just constantly pouring history into me and my sons, and like he's going far back, way before 1492. Like he's telling me about the 1300s, like the history of when slavery became based on race and what the history of that is and how did it come about. Just it's just so much there. And so I love that you put the history of the mountain in your poem. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Miss Dash Kelly Hamilton. I know you got something
I,
for Milwaukee.
I do, but it's too long for what we're doing today. But I have a shorter piece that also is inspired by a mountain from my time in Anchorage. So for my new friends here, I went from Milwaukee to part-time living in Anchorage. My husband and I met at B&V as coaches. So we met at a youth poetry festival and we dated long distance between Milwaukee and Anchorage for 3 years. And then we got married in Alaska and he moved to Milwaukee for a few years and we moved to Anchorage for a few years. So similarly in Alaska, the huge mountain range in the southeast part of the state is called was renamed to McKinley. He also didn't climb it. So the native Alaskans were like, yeah, we're done with that. And as I moved there, I understand they've never not called it Denali. So the name has been reclaimed and renamed to its original native name. And I want to say, I remember when when Obama went to visit and made this declaration. So it's a mix of seeing it, and if you were familiar with the mountains, they're spectacular, and my whole reason for being in this state. So you'll see it all comes together. Denali. The bedspread peaks and unfolds into wide turns across the bed. Valleys beckon and plunge, creasing the swell of unsettled landscape. Tinted and silent, high above the mattress, above the sea, a gaze traces the silhouette dips of a mountain, its crevices and curves, sublime under cooling sheets, under the contented whispers of clouds.
I love it. Oh man, yo, now I'm gonna go like start looking at the history of mountains and how they got their names. Because all of these mountains named after men who never climbed climbed the mountain. That's crazy. I mean, I'm not big on climbing mountains either, but
I would
that's
put this in the same folder of a historian friend who does a lot of researching about my home city, about Milwaukee, and I'm sure it's the case in every city, but you're looking at the names of streets,
hmm
and then to learn, well, this street was named after somebody who, what did they do? Oh, they were just so and so's homie.
hmm
Oh, they were just part of the entourage,
yes.
and so they got
Hmm.
a street named after them.
hmm
Indeed.
So those are something you would imagine. I mean, right now there's so much focus and meetings and commissions and petitions before even a little school or a corner gets named after someone, which I don't complain about, but they definitely weren't doing that back then. And it
No.
was just, you were part of the parade, so you get to cast your name, you know, on the fixtures and people that were already there. But there we are.
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I have had more than a little bit of fun talking to you all today, and I really appreciate all that you do. I love, like I said, I always love these moments. Um, I want to end on this note, and I want to, if you could never write another poem, what would you do?
Keep
You
writing
know,
fiction.
I'm taking your pen, Dasha. You can't write.
Okay. I'll tell you the new, I'm not a new love, but the universe is putting my feet into it more firmly. It's storytelling.
Oh, okay, okay. I
So
like that.
I've been a host for the Moth for many years, and so I've just recently become a storyteller and a host through their main stage to do the tours of cities, and that's also reconnected me to all of the things. It's the idea and the scribble and the wrangling into this nice little nugget, and then of course the experience of sharing that story and what those stories and poems and all of our oral spoken word does to a room when we're all together. So I would do more storytelling.
Okay, all right.
I would do stand-up comedy.
Yes, girl.
okay,
I
there you
love
go.
it. I love
And it's sort of, I mean, it's for me, it's sort of like slam. It's sort of, it's like, is this mix, and I love that. But if we're going far away from like oral tradition stuff, I would be a food critic, and I would just go around and eat lots of food and write my little reviews.
it. I love food. I am almost a year in of being completely plant-based.
Ooh.
And I have so much fun with food right now. I'm always finding new ways to create things that I liked before I stopped eating meat. And so my friends are always like, "Where in the world do you find this?" And I'm like, "No, I made a gyro, but I made my meat out of lentils." And they're like, "What?" So so, yes, I would be a vegan food critic because so often people make bad vegan food and it's disgusting. So I love that. Yes. What about you, Mr. Rain? What would you do
If I
if
couldn't write,
if you couldn't write? You couldn't be a poet or an author. What would you do?
I would buy me a motor coach and travel the United States.
Ah, I love it.
Yep, because I already want to buy a motor coach, but then there's like and just get rid of the house and live in
Hmm.
a motor coach and just go.
Samuel,
Look around, look
Watch
around.
out now. Hey, believe me, I've been shopping for a motor coach that I can because I don't own this. I mean they say I own it until they take it from me. So it's here. It doesn't move, but if I'm in a motor coach, I'm everywhere. So
Mm.
that's what I want to do. So and it's just me. So um, and I'll be traveling all solo. You know, that's it.
Aw.
But I want to share something with you guys that I did because I saw a movie and the movie gave me the idea of doing this. So this here is Dark Man Blues John Bowl. This is the Amazon copy. As you can see, the pages are cream color. This here is John Bowl, limited edition. Only
Okay.
printed, only printed 50 books of this.
Okay.
All right.
Ooh.
So that means
Nice.
that 50 people have a copy of this. Now, so what they did was when I printed it at the publisher, they gave me 53 copies. I have three of them. I sold the other 50. And in the movie, what I saw was the person walked into the bookstore and wanted to buy a book. And then they didn't have the book that he wanted. But she said, I do have this book. And he says, well, how much is it? How much does the book cost? It said $260,000. She said, wow. He said, why? Because there's only 60 copies of it. So there are only 50 copies of this. One day, this guy, Samuel Rain, he's going to be dope. And then somebody going to say, I need a copy of John Bowl. But they won't be able to get this one because my kids got the copies and 50 other people got copies of this book.
I love that.
And that's it.
Now you making me want to make this a special edition release for my book.
You know, so yeah, so that's just and then when I sold this book, uh I got people to buy incentivizing them that they needed to get all three of the Dark Man Blues books that were out. And see, so you can see the back of that has a picture of the two previous books and then the last book, which wasn't out yet. That's how I promoted the interview with Love by putting a copy of it on the back of this book.
Ah,
And
smart
so
man.
and so people were already interested in buying an interview with Love. So what I did to and all these books have 100 pages except for this one because this one is I added 40 more pages to make it special. This is an interview with Love, and that was it.
Okay.
And then I'll show you one more thing, and then I'll get out of the way. This is Love Is, written by Samuel Rain Benjamin and Josh Smalls out of North Carolina.
I know, Ja.
You know, Josh, so he
Yeah.
he bought a book from me called Love in the Conversation. He read it. He liked the way it was done. And then he asked me would I write a book with him. And so that's what we wrote. Love
I
Is.
love it.
And it's so dope that we've already started writing the second book. Love Is Two. So that's coming out. So and I'm almost done with that book already, you know, the second book.
I
Yeah.
love it. You definitely got me. I'm like, dog, he said 50 books. And he on
50.
43.
And the quality of a printer is better than the quality from KDP or CreateSpace or any other company that you could go through. The paper quality was so amazing that this and so when people tell you that you can't sell your book for a certain price, I sold this book for $25, but now it's worth way more than that. It only has 68 pages in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was in the bookstore one time and I picked up a Maya Angelou book that has 7 pages, 8 pages, and they wanted like a ton of money for it. I'm like, I could do that
Yep.
one day.
Yep.
I'm be
One
on
day.
that status, you know. You get a book from Samuel Rain, it might only have 10 pages in it.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me today, Ashley. Is there a way that people can support you in your journey for your fellowship, or do you need support? I thought I saw that.
Yes, yeah, I am raising money for the tuition and the flights. So if folks are interested in donating, there is a GoFundMe, but GoFundMe's GoFundMe. But also I'm just accepting straight on donations in my Cash App or Venmo. You can hit me up. Or if you got Sky Miles, if you got well wishes or affirmations. I also sell stickers that have a lot of my poetry on it. So if folks want something in return for donating, that's another great way. And I'll make sure to like put a link in the YouTube comment or somewhere if folks are interested in donating. But yes, all of that money helps me get to France and to hopefully fly comfortably because your girl is afraid to fly. So I need all of
What?
the parts to be in the sky for so long.
Okay. All right.
Go big,
Wonderful.
go big.
Go big, yes, because you're gonna be in the
Go
sky for a
big,
long
yeah.
time.
Mhm.
All right, so definitely yes, put that in our YouTube link so that people can support you. Dasha and Samuel, same. Please put your social media information in the YouTube so that people can follow you. And we'll be back next month, everybody. That's June, first Sunday in June with Mr. LaRon McAdoo, and don't get me to lying. I want to say it's, oh, who is it? It's not Ashley. It's somebody else.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
I mean,
crash y'all party.
Mhm.
you good, you good. It's never a crashing party when all of us poets are getting together. I love the space that we have created for us all to just be great and to do it together and not have any poet beef. I love that. Uh, we started off talking about poet beef. We go in there, but I love that it's just always love when we have these first Sundays. And I thank you all so much for your gift and for everything that you do for your cities. And I will see you again soon. I promise. Gosh, I'll see you in like 13 minutes. All right. I love y'all. And we'll be back next first Sunday in June with Mr. McAdoo and one other poet whose name currently evades me, but it'll be on the flyer. I love y'all. Bye-bye.
Good to meet everybody. More
All
soon.
right.